Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by the Nyaraza Group. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today I'm in conversation with Pathisa Nyathi, an author, an arts, culture, and heritage champion. Enjoy this enriching conversation. Mr. Pathisa Nyathi, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor. I'm so delighted that you found the time to join me.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Pathisa, as I was preparing this, I found myself being taken to Ekhaya, Edambachowo, Eshage, Egwanda, where I grew up, with my grandfather. And in the evenings, we'll sit around the fire in the kitchen. He would tell us stories of how they grew up. He would tell us folk stories, inganekwane, and poems and that kind of stuff. So we sat at grandfather's feet and we imbibed the culture, we imbibed the language. That doesn't happen anymore. How do we pass on our language, our culture, when that kind of stuff is not happening? Because most of the African population, including Zimbabwe, we are in the cities where grandfathers are not there, where mothers and fathers are busy. Talk to me about the challenge of ensuring that our culture, arts, and heritage lives on in these circumstances.
Okay, but before I proceed, let me make a brief presentation of some of my books. So that we establish some rapport.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I'll present you with these few books. Tumbali, if you've heard about the Pepe people.
Yes.
Then Joseph Nyathi. We grew up together.
So just hold on. So Itumbale is the history of the Pepe people.
Yes, of Zimbabwe. That's right.
Good.
And this one is Joseph Nyathi. We grew up together at Sankonjana. Matobo district. Now, I love this story because he trained as a zebra cutter, and then when he came back home, he was in 5th Brigade. And I realized it was a story that some people were not aware of. When they think of 5th Brigade, they think it was all Shona. It's not correct. They were Ndebele people. In other words, they were zebra people.
In the Gukurahundi.
In the Gukurahundi, that's right. So
do we know the number of how many people were?
We may not know the number. He would know about his particular battalion.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive, yes.
Have you spoken to him?
I interviewed him. I wouldn't have written about him without interviewing him.
Fantastic.
But he would not allow me to interview him before this new dispensation. He was a bit...
but much more comfortable in the new
dispensation? Yes, he was comfortable. And I was also more comfortable because there are books that I subsequently wrote, Dissidents, for example. From my own perspective, Gukurahundi. And I've said to people, since then, I haven't seen anyone come to me and say, hey, watch it. What were you writing about? So perhaps they were serious that... do discuss these issues. And I have, and I still write. So Peter, I was looking for my latest book, which came out yesterday, The Life and Times of Joshua Nkomo. And again, I do touch on Gukurahundi.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah. So it's going to be out today. We're just doing some proofreading. But this is also Amabiza, which is popular in some parts of Zimbabwe.
So is this a dance of some sort?
Yes, it is. I've about 5 dances that I've written about. Ombakumba, Mchongoyo, Jerusalem Ambende, and Wosana. This is Woso. Iwoso is Amabiza in Sindebele.
And tell me, Iwoso, under what circumstances was it performed?
Now, it will take care of entertainment. We still play today, But during the days when African spirituality was strong, it was played as some kind of precursor to the Wosana. Etinjelele, the main dance is Wosana, which is an all-female dance.
Okay.
And then this one will be played initially before you get to Iwosana. But now entertainment, and I know Joshua Nkomo loved that dance. My father loved the dance. I love the dance. And so there's a lot that I learn, as I will indicate later in the program.
Tell me, before you, let's not leave that because that's just an interesting thing. What about the dances that get performed at the airports, welcoming the president, welcoming international visitors? Is there any symbolism? Is there any significance? You look at them dancing, you know them better than we do. Talk to me about that.
Yes, Iwosana is a live dance. That one is not one to play around with. Iwoso, yes, which is Amapiza, entertainment. So you can play around with that one. In all dances, there is symbolism. That's critically important to appreciate. Some people will not see much in that. Or they will see people jumping up and down. No. It's much more than that. When I look at a dance, I'm looking at the cosmos in motion. Because so much of what we do, I hope we'll have time to discuss those issues, we copy the cosmos. And so our dances relate and link us to the cosmos. So, for example, if we take that Woso Amapiza, that when you look at that dance from the color, there's some metaphor, there's symbolism in that. It's the color of the cloud. Clouds that are rain-bearing are dark, are black. And then sometimes you'll see their ends are whitish. So you look at the attire, through dance movement, which is choreography, you are creating an ambience. That ambience is a rain ambience.
Right.
The more intense the ambience, the more repetition, the more copying of the rain atmosphere, as it were, the stronger the chances of the rain falling.
Wow.
It's something that our people now no longer believe. They don't believe in these things, largely because they don't understand them in the first place. They are quick to dismiss what they don't understand. And then, again, because of conquest, we seem to, our understanding of the cosmos is now all about what other people understand. What they understand is the truth. Our own understanding has been denigrated and despised. It's paganism. Yeah. So
let's. You said you'll find more time to talk about the cosmos and the link to the dancing. Yeah. Can we get into that right now? You've described the dance that's about rain and what other dances do mirror the cosmos, do project the cosmos?
I don't think there is a single dance that does not mirror. If it is an African dance, there is not a single one of them. And I understand quite many.
Sure.
From the Shona world, Kalanga world, Ndebele world, all groups, ethnic groups, but not only confining myself to Zimbabwe, but indeed, what is African? I have said, we are not Africans because we live on the African continent. Nor are we Africans because we are black. No. It's all about a worldview. It's about the way we relate to each other as human beings, one, how we relate to environment, and that environment is terrestrial, but it is also cosmic. The cosmic environment is even more important because there are certain attributes that the African observes or has observed and has passed them down. Remember your question about passing down information, and we are going to relate it. That's how it was happening. So when you look at the cosmos, when perhaps some people are not familiar with the term, I'm here referring to the stars. The sun being the best example, and the nearest to us, but we are also including the planets. We are including the moon. All these constitute the cosmos. Now, there's one thing that they have in common. One is movement. Without movement, there will be no cosmos. Things will just collapse. So movement is a chief characteristic of the cosmic bodies, of the heavens, if some people prefer to use the term. But it is not haphazard movement. It is rhythmic movement. It is periodic movement. It is kind of cyclical movement, which makes it very predictable. You know when the sun will rise. It's moving at a particular speed and doesn't change that speed now, slowing down. The sun doesn't slow down. It's moving at the same speed that it has always been moving. The moon does the same. We know when it is going to appear. We can predict. There is so much. Where there is matter, there is geometry. And as Keller, I think it was Keller who said that. So the African did not invent much by way of these dances. He merely was copying the dance of the cosmos.
Pathisa, let me hold you there, because you just touched on an important thing for me, which brings out the disjuncture. So how African am I when I don't understand what you've just outlined? When what you've just outlined has not been imparted to me. When I don't understand these rhythmic connections with nature that I ought to. I've been disconnected to my culture, to my heritage, because of the stuff that you talked about. Because I don't understand the stuff that you're talking about. So how African am I? How African are we when we don't understand what you've just outlined? As important as it might be. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. We acknowledge Africa has lost a lot. There's no doubt about that one. However, there are issues that all of us will understand or ought to understand. There are other issues that are understood by perceptive minds. We are not all the same. What we all ought to understand are cultural practices. There is a vast difference between cultural practices and that which underpins, informs those practices. This is why some people are quick to dismiss things African. They are just blank when it comes to the underpinnings, that which informs African culture. Why do they dance the way they dance? That movement. And it is movement that is has got many rhythms. Polyrhythm, we call it. It's not monorhythm, it's polyrhythm. You will see the hands of an African dancer, the hands are moving in their own rhythm. This part, which is the waist, especially among the women, that part moves a lot. And the movement is rhythmic. They have not invented that rhythm. All Africa did was copy the cosmos.
Wow.
And the adage is, as above, so below. That's our adage.
So I wish, before we move on to the next book, I wish the dancers in Victoria Falls and all the lodges where visitors are welcomed by these dances, and we've got European visitors, Americans, and so forth, watching those dances. I wish someone could explain to our visitors what the dance is all about.
That is not happening. That is exactly what is not happening. What you need there are a few people with perceptive minds. Those are few, I will accept, who see it is in you. You are born with it to understand this thing, see the link between what we do on earth, our cultural practices, see how it has affected our architecture. It doesn't matter whether it's a Tonga hat, it's a Shona hat, it's a Ndebele hat. It's the same.
It speaks something.
It speaks something. There lies our Africanness.
Fantastic. Let's move on to the next book.
Right. The next one is Bowen Rees, who was a missionary during the time of King Lopengula Etinyati, London Missionary Society. And finally,
Reverend
Rees.
a missionary from Matebelele.
Yes, and this is the man, he was a Welshman. This is why in Matebeleland we have some people whose names are Welshmen.
Ah, right.
Welshman Mapena, Welshman Ncube. That's right. And Welshman Ncube and Mapena, there's some connection between them, which we know. Right. Then this one again is Cradle of the Revolution. One of the heritage areas that I'm interested in is liberation heritage. Yeah.
So just hold on there. A cradle of the revolution.
Inyati
Voices
School.
from Inyati School.
That's right.
Matebeleland, 1914 to 1980.
That's right.
Awesome
Welshman, for example, is one of them. And then you have others like the former town clerk, Moffat and Lovu. They all went, Mzileti. Oh, there are so many of them. And most of them became political.
Wow.
So we were tracing so it's their biographies as it were. So right up to independence from 1914. Fantastic. When we had the...
Can I take these books with me home?
Yeah, I'm giving you those.
Oh, wow.
This is a gift. This
Awesome.
is a gift because there are so many of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is Losgay Dlodlo. Queen Losgay Dlodlo.
Of the Ndebele.
Yeah, was the most senior of King Lopengula's queens. That's the book. With a colleague.
And you say a very dangerous and intriguing woman.
It was a native commissioner who so described her. Yeah, because of her role during the 1896 Ndebele struggle to recapture their independence. And finally, Welshman Khatani Mapena. I've since done a biography of his widow.
A voice from Matebele.
Yeah.
He was the former governor.
That's right. Yes,
fantastic.
he was. So
Thank
I've
you.
also done.
Thank you for this gift. Right. And so my question.
Well, the answer to your question is bigger than most people would imagine. Africa is facing a serious problem, a disconnect, as it were, before current generations and the earlier generations. In other words, there is no transmission of African knowledge, African information. In any case, that information is being trashed. It's no longer regarded as vital, as important information. It is because the African today does not see himself as a reference point. He is in reference to other people. That is the tragedy. So why would you bother starting something that you are going to trash anyway, that you are not going to use? Because useful information is that comes from elsewhere. Politics of knowledge is no small matter. There are people whose knowledge controls the world. There are people whose knowledge has been trashed, denigrated, despised. And in terms of the confidence, it's a people who have lost the confidence. They are gatekeepers when it comes to this knowledge. I'm glad there is an organization that seems to be moving in the right direction, trying to recapture African knowledge. I remember somebody very insulting says, just tell me what Africans have contributed towards world knowledge. But you see, Africans feel insufficient, no confidence to stand their ground. All the knowledge about the cosmos, the dances, it's knowledge. But we seem to know very little about it because a lot of that knowledge, only yesterday somebody was saying to me, I'm confused. What? I said, what's the confusion about? He says, I see my grandfather. My grandfather is telling me this and that. Then I said, what's the problem when your grandfather tells you something? No, what we are told in church. I said, what are you talking about? You are told in church about your grandfather. You feel inadequate. You feel confused.
Not worthy.
because of your grandfather. If Africa believes in such things, I'm sorry for Africa. We are not going anywhere. We shall remain hewers of wood and drawers of water for other people.
As Nyaradzo, we strive to continuously bring convenience to our clients. Nyaradzo Group is proud to introduce Sawi, a new virtual chatbot assistant on WhatsApp. With Sawi, you are now able to interact with us from the comfort of your home and can be assisted anytime via WhatsApp. With life assurance products, diaspora products, applying and assessing your policy, payment platforms, claims information, and any other queries concerning payments, policy information, or products and services. Simply WhatsApp Sawi on +263 712 992892 or register and start interacting and receiving notifications from Sawi on WhatsApp. Now, join in and experience a new level of convenience 24 hours a day with Sawi.
So here is, from what you're saying, this is rich, this is complex, this is deep. From what you're saying, who we are has been denigrated by others. But we have participated in the denigration of who we are.
Yes, as if you knew. I was going to say, no. It's not sufficient. If you read my biography, I have written my biography, which comes in 2 volumes because there was quite a lot. There's book 1, this one, Pathisa Nyathi at 70. This takes my life from birth, and very interesting how chapter 1 deals with my birth. I don't know how it happened, but anyway, it happened. I see myself outside of this baby who is being born. I see my mother giving birth to me. I see the midwife as if I'm out there watching the child, the baby, this one being born. Yes. But it is because of knowledge, I think, that I possess about these matters, what would go on when they were preparing in a traditional sense. I was the last born. I was the last person in the family to be born in a kitchen hut. The others were born in hospitals. And I also happened to be the only one with a Ndebele name.
Pathisa.
I discovered all these things much, much later. Others are Joel, others are Joyce, others are Rebecca, so on and so forth. But in my case, I was given a traditional name. And I've spoken a lot about names. When people begin to shun their own names, they are lost people. You are using names whose meanings you don't even know. You are picking them up from a basket. Terrible. If you don't respect your own names, which, by the way, carry a lot of the very question that you posed, it lies, part of the answer is in our names. For example, Pathisa. What does it mean?
What does it mean?
It meant all those my mother was failing to deliver, to conceive, as it were. This was as a puma. Then, miscarriages. Yeah, miscarriages were happening. Then when it came to me, they thought the same was going to happen. But my father had gone to Njelele. And I think, when he told me stories, I still remember, my father was doing exactly what you were telling me about your own grandfather. He was doing the same with us. He would lie on his back, and it's all covered here. And he would tell us story after story, and he would sing sometimes. So we learned a lot, including his visit to Njelele. And I suspected, because there had been no children born before I was. So when I was born, they thought I was Pathisa abanye. In other words, our children die. This one too would die. That's what they thought. But lo and behold, the man turns out to be 70 years of age. Yeah, and then the volume 2 deals with my life story from when I started working after training as a teacher Then I was teaching, and by the way, I'm a science teacher by training, which helps me understand African culture better than the average person. What we have in this country are people who will understand science, then you have people who will understand culture, but they don't combine the two. So they think there is no science in African culture. Oh, how wrong they are. There's so much science in African culture. First, let me give you one or two examples. One example that I would use is our mothers, our grandmothers, how they preserved grain. They applied ash. That's science. But probably people don't know how science is applicable in that situation. From my science, I know that insects have spiracles on their abdomen. Those are breathing holes. Our mothers never saw a breathing hole, but because they never used a microscope. I used it as a science teacher, or when I was doing science to become a science teacher. So I know, but for us, our science is applied science. It's different the way they will interpret it. So they get the ash. Ash is very fine. What it does, it goes to clog, to close, to block, to suffocate the insect by closing those holes, the spiracles, as we call them in science. That's applied science. My mother has never seen them. No, she has never. But she knows how to kill the insect. So then,
in a natural way, for lack of a better word, without spoiling the environment.
Without spoiling the environment. And again, it had to be ash of a non-poisonous tree. And they knew through experience that umtsiri, lead, I think it's lead wood, that one produces the finest ash. But I always say, I'll continue, lest I forget. Even donkeys know that. Donkeys have never seen spiracles. They've never used a microscope, but they use applied science. Have you not seen donkeys go to a meeting, a slaughter?
To roll.
They roll and roll. What are they doing?
They're killing the
mice. They are killing mice. How? They are blocking the spiracles, breathing holes for those mice. They don't have to use ash, even where there is fine soil, because it will work the same manner as ash, block the spiracles. So donkeys, do they know science? Don't they know science? They know it naturally, instinctively. And that's what matters. Just like my mother, she doesn't know anything about spiracles. She's never seen them. She is applying science just like that donkey.
So here, let's help us bridge this gap. The knowledge sits with the elders, sits with the perceptive people like you've said. But my generation and the generations afterwards, there's been that disjuncture.
Disconnect.
The disconnect. The Westerners come and join me and influence me in looking down upon the knowledge, the body of knowledge that you've just outlined here.
Correct.
How do we fix this? Is it fixable?
It is. It requires another struggle. It's a struggle that will not be fought by politicians. No. They've played their part. It's finished. They have to create room for a new set of players. These are people who are spiritual, probably. These are people who are not ashamed of being African. We have too many Africans who are ashamed of being African.
The majority.
The majority of them are ashamed.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, let's be honest. They are ashamed. I'm one who is not ashamed. I'll never be ashamed because I know I have knowledge which the other person doesn't understand. So on the basis of knowledge that I possess, I feel confident. And where a people no longer have any knowledge that other people don't have, how do you pride yourself? What's unique and special about you?
So, do you think teaching our languages in our schools, making it compulsory for us to know our languages, would be one small way of fixing this? So that our children know their languages, they speak in their languages, they read even better, and they conceptualize better in their mother tongue. They might imagine better in their mother tongue. Then it becomes part of the vessel and the vehicle of passing on these cultures, traditions, and our heritage. Would that help?
Partly. It's not, in my view, the final solution. We need to convince the African that through your mother tongue, you can tackle science.
That's where
99% believe you can't use your language in science, in mathematics. That's absolute nonsense. But that's what we believe. The Japanese they are very good in this technology, producing a lot of cars. Go out here, it's Japanese cars. What language are they using?
Their language.
Their language. So we are unique as Africans. We're too proud to be, for us, language is not just for communication. It becomes a status symbol. Terrible.
The foreign language.
Foreign language.
A symbol.
Yes. So what we need is a new breed of African who is proud of being African, who is convinced their language can handle science, can handle mathematics, can handle any subject. If Japanese can do it, if Chinese can do it, why can't our African languages do it? We are just lazy.
But you've just said that language is part of it. There's a much more powerful way of doing it. What's that too?
No, it's when that language becomes a medium for teaching.
I get you.
That's right. In industry, the instructions are being given in that language. Then they'll begin to see it's a useful language. But for now, it's a status symbol. Some parents are very happy when their children cannot speak
Not
Shona.
some parents, the majority.
The majority, you are right. You are right. I agree. But that is a measure of how unliberated we were mentally. I've always said it was easy to drive the white men out of the sitting room, but we forgot he was in the kitchen. He's controlling the mind.
It's in our minds.
Yeah. So this is why I was saying the denigration, and I think you brought it out, and I agree with that. The denigration is no longer by the person who came and colonized. We are now the purveyors of that denigration, convinced that, our language, our religion. That's where I like somebody like Professor Sabelo. He's very clear about these issues when he talks about the pyramid, that at the top, there are some people placed themselves right at the top in terms of their color, in terms of their language, in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their practices. Everything is right at the top of that pyramid or triangle. For the black man, he's right at the bottom. That's racial inferiority. And the African has accepted it, unfortunately, and he doesn't think there is anything that can be done about it. That is the tragedy of Africa. And I was talking about this organization that is now...
Which organization is that?
I think they call themselves INSTAC, Institute of African Knowledge. We are going there a few days' time. They are building a big museum in Harare. But I think they are coming out of that pride that we need to be proud as Africans and be clear. I told them that if you want to push that agenda, be very clear about what it is that is Pan-African, because they are Pan-African.
So that's a beautiful thing, and I wish the guys all the best. So language is important. using language as a vehicle for communicating, for education becomes important. What else? Is the way we dress important? Is our music important? What would you think are the major building blocks into making us proud again?
I'll go for one. I have said it is a tragedy. You fly Air Zimbabwe, you fly South African Airways, you fly Kenyan Airways, and on board, an African dish is never served. Something is wrong there. Then there is one, I still want to write an article on that one. Some people, I'm not sure whether it was Ugandan, I think it was Ugandan Airways. They were arrested for selling locusts on board, roasted locusts. Africans eat locusts. Now they are being arrested for selling locusts there. Well, he sold locusts because you are never going to save them. Why? And then the fellow was also taking a video of that, and he was also arrested. This is the tragedy of the Africans. As long as Air Zimbabwe is not serving a single African dish on board, something is still very wrong. I've said it, and I'll continue to say it. Why are we not doing? African cuisines are the least adopted in this whole world. And here is an African given an opportunity to promote his own cuisine. He doesn't.
Because I'm embarrassed of the food.
Aha, correct. Because you're embarrassed of your own food. Then
I don't eat it at home. So why do you want me to eat it on the plane?
And in any case, the people who fly are sophisticated people. Sophistication means you don't eat locusts. Terrible Africans. Terrible, I say. They have no pride in themselves, in their own things. So even when they come here, they are coming as tourists. Surely, why give them England in Zimbabwe? What's the point?
Because we want to impress them.
Want to impress them?
We've arrived where they are.
No. Show them how we sleep, or traditionally we're sleeping. Give them that. Then our dishes. Give them our beer, traditional beer.
One question I was going to ask you, which you've already answered, is why our food travels so badly.
Yeah.
We fully embrace Chinese food.
Correct.
We fully embrace the Korean food and all that. But our food...
Our own is not. It is because to appear civilized means you have to discard everything African. So the African is the culprit. So the African is number one denigrator, if there's such a word, of his own culture.
Wow. Let's move on. And the way I want to move on is, how did you become so passionate about an important issue such as this? When everybody else walking around in the city of Bulawayo and Matebeleland lacks the passion that you have. Where did you get this from?
I'm just trying to look at the way I read a lot. That's one. I observe. I've said my teacher is the best teacher in the world. The things that I was telling you about the cosmos, those I didn't read about. I observed. I observed nature. And nature is the best teacher. Right now, we are going through a lean season, rain-wise, at least for now. But it is because we have failed to understand, to interpret natural language, the language of nature. Nature knows itself. Rain comes as part of nature. So rain, one of my sayings, I enjoy coining these sayings. Summer announces itself in winter. Winter announces itself in summer. Why didn't we know what the season was having for us? It is because we no longer have the knowledge of our ancestors. This is one thing that I do, move from this organization to other, dealing with, they call it IKS. And it's a term that I hate.
What is IKS?
IKS means Indigenous Knowledge Systems.
Oh, right.
Now, why the term that I hate is indigenous. The way it is used, to me, is not right.
Derogatory.
Derogatory is the word. All knowledge comes from certain sources. But yeah, we seem to see some semblance of knowledge coming from Africa. It's indigenous to Africa. And I've said, all knowledge is indigenous. All knowledge starts somewhere. There is knowledge that is indigenous to China, indigenous to England. Why do you specify ours as indigenous? All knowledge is indigenous. So that, but anyway, what I'm saying is nature announces itself well in advance.
You know, interesting that you say that. I think because of COVID and staying at home over the past year, I've become more observant about what nature does.
Yes.
Spring comes, the
Rhythm.
trees,
Yes,
trees,
there's rhythm.
and I watch the insects, the pests come out, and they do whatever they do, and I watch, and I say, God is amazing. What amazing creativity.
Yeah.
Nobody could have set a timetable for this.
No.
But we don't pay attention to all.
No, we do not observe this rhythm, this periodicity. Because you know the sun is overhead, certain time of year, it will be overhead 12 months later. The cosmos is characterized by that rhythm. What Africa considers beautiful is actually displayed by the cosmos. Something that is rounded. A beautiful lady is one who is rounded. It's because our eyes have taught us to admire the sun's solar design, lunar design, and the movement. A hut or a building that is rectangular with 90 degrees, you don't find these 90-degree things in nature.
Yeah. Let me take you, Pathisa. I want viewers the world over who watch this show to understand who Pathisa is. You were telling us about your birth. Where were you born? Which schools did you go to? Walk us through that journey. Who is Pathisa?
Yeah, I was born at Sankonjana. Sankonjana is a place in the southern part of Matobo district, Matabeleland South in Zimbabwe. That's where I was born on the 10th of July, 1951. Being the first one to be, the last one to be delivered in an African hut. And the only one who got a Ndebele name. That's right. Then I went to school. Our area was under the Salvation Army. So there I went to Sankonjana Primary School and then went to Mazoe Secondary School.
Why Mazoe Secondary
Because it was also Salvation Army. So
okay.
we're going to our secondary school. The women from Chiweshe were going to Asha, which was a girls' secondary school. So we were moving from Simukwe district for schools like Mambale, many of them. We went there. And then after that, I went to train as a science teacher at Gweru Teachers College.
But you went to Mzilikazi?
No, Mzilikazi. I went after I had completed training as a science teacher at Gweru Teachers College. Now I was teaching.
You know why I raised Mzilikazi? Because I'm also a Mzilikazi high school boy. So I just wanted to make viewers know that there's a connection.
Okay, but I went to write A-levels at Mzilikazi.
I see.
But I had been doing my studies, which was biology and geography, through private studies. And then I was taught in many schools. I started at Loreto.
What were you teaching?
Science. I'm a science teacher by profession. Yeah. At Gweru Teachers College, we were doing science. Then we had other people doing mathematics, others geography, history, others the languages, could be Ndebele. with English or Shona and English. Those were the subjects.
And then you did a BA at UNISA?
At the University of South Africa, when I was already a teacher.
Okay.
Yes, and did an honors degree again when I was still a teacher there. And then I was, whilst I was teaching, I think the interest in these things, cultural, was there. And then drama with MAWA, Mtwaga's Actors and Writers Association. This is what, so in the 70s, we were already into drama. So we were already into arts. So it was something that came naturally to me. And I've never looked back.
As Nyaradzo, we strive to continuously bring convenience to our clients. Nyaradzo Group is proud to introduce Sawi, a new virtual chatbot assistant on WhatsApp. With Sawi, you are now able to interact with us from the comfort of your home and can be assisted anytime via WhatsApp. With life assurance products, diaspora products, applying and assessing your policy, payment platforms, claims information, and any other queries concerning payments, policy information, or products and services. Simply WhatsApp Sawi on +263 712 992892 or register and start interacting and receiving notifications from Sawi on WhatsApp. Now, join in and experience a new level of convenience 24 hours a day with Sawi.
So, Pathisa, you've taught quite a lot. And as you are teaching science, arts, culture, and our heritage was gaining in importance. That's what you're saying.
Yes. I found science to be very useful in interpreting our own culture. Whereas some people may not see the science in our culture, there is a lot of it. It's the manner in which we explain it, we interpret it that differs. I gave you one example, for example, about the spiracles on the bodies of insects, the science that even a donkey knows about. But there are many examples. We could go on and on. Even the dance itself, you will see that you need to understand astronomy to interpret our dances. The movement. But it is not just any movement which is haphazard. This is movement that is rhythmic. It is movement that is regular. That's another word that we could use. And that makes it predictable. This is why you get to a village where they are clapping hands. Very soon, you'll be joining. It's Chigicha. Because it has got the same rhythm. And you will sing until people get possessed. That's how we do it. So when you watch these people, a dance, whether it is through dance, it is through, which are performances, visual traditions, our architecture, our sculpture, all of them share something in common. There is movement. All of them have got movement, they've got rhythm. Even a sculpture. You may think there is no movement. There is. The way it has been produced, it has been carved. There is that movement. So you appreciate it better. You look at our baskets. Why are they that shape? We did not have things that were rectangular. Whether it's our hearts, it's everything sitting at court, it would be either half a moon, in other words, curvilinear. So curvilinearity is an important aspect of what we call African aesthetics, secularity, this movement, rhythm. All these are what we consider as beauty.
Let me take you to something that you have founded, which is very important in capturing most of what our conversation has been about. You are the founder of Amagugu International Heritage Centre.
Yes.
Talk to me about the thinking behind creating the center and what it embodies.
Yeah. I'll tell you, one problem with me is forgetfulness. I don't know, you will read in the books. It's an important topic for me. But when I was teaching at Glock Secondary School, I was head of a school. I was sharing a house with someone from Emachechen. He says, at one time, you talked about building a place that would be visited by people from all over the world. It was something that I dreamt. Then I shared the dream with him. He remembered the dream. It was gone. I didn't know. But what I do know is I built the center. And that center is quite big. What is unique about it is every cent that went into the construction of that center came from me as a civil servant. So you see, certain things are predicted will happen. They happen. They are funded somehow. Where there is a will,
there's a way.
There is a way. I'm convinced about that. So it happened. How it was happening, it's simply because it was prophesied it would happen, and it did happen.
What's in it? Why did you create it?
I think the major reason is it's a heritage center. We teach. We are passing on. For example, you at the beginning of the program, you're expressing this, perhaps a disconnect between generations. We realize it is there, it is a reality. So we created a center where school pupils in particular, because cities are symmetries of our cultures. There would be a place where they would go, and then there's a kitchen hut, for example. There I'll sit in my chair. This is that, this is that. But go beyond the utilities of these artifacts and say, but look at their design. Do we see something in terms of design? Because all of them are secular in design. That's African design. And when we say we are Africans in the past, it meant our designs. Whether you were in Nigeria, as long as you were part of Black Africa, that design was there. It was important. So we wanted to pass on that knowledge about Africa as a way of cultivating pride in ourselves. But sadly, teachers bring these pupils there, their pupils there, for passing school examinations. Because there is heritage now in the school curriculum. Which is, you see, then as a result, once they are through with their education,
it gets dropped.
They are no longer interested. It doesn't. But you see, what I've said, some people say, oh, technology, these things. I said, no. Technology facilitates. When people walk about, some gadgets plugged into their ears, they are listening to something which was fed. Are you Africans feeding these machines so that our pupils can learn?
Will this institution, Amagugu Cultural Centre, will it live beyond you?
Yes, I think it will. My son used to work for it. He's now at the American Embassy. So he has shown an interest. But the difference between me and him will be I'm guided by spirit. That's the important thing. I'm spiritual. He is not. So he will work like a mechanical person. But the knowledge we are hoping right now, because we are facing a challenge from COVID. So we are seeking ways of making use of technology so that pupils in a classroom, we will be going to a classroom, and pupils in those classrooms will see as if they are at Amakuku.
Right.
There are machines.
So it's being developed.
It's being developed.
And your son Ubutolezwe
Yeah.
Pathisa Nyathi
Mhm.
is following after you because
Yes.
he's been the head of
Gallery.
the Bulawayo Gallery.
That's right.
So it really looks like he's embracing what he's
Yes,
there.
this is why I said I think it will continue. Because even the student that I have 2 students now who were interns. They were at MSU. So for that whole year they were there. They are still there. So, and they saw me do these things, the interpretations, because it's the perceptive mind that is missing. The cultural practices are easy. Anyone can understand those. What is not easy is the interpretation. I'm sure you are aware that I'm interpreting Stonehenge, which is an English monument.
I wasn't aware of that. Tell us about that. That's huge.
Yeah, in England they've got it's a heritage. It was declared by UNESCO as a heritage site, just like Matopo, Great Zimbabwe, Kami, Mana Pools, Victoria Falls. We have 5 in Zimbabwe. So that one. But you see why I took a keen interest in Stonehenge. The professors, the archaeologists, the scientists are having difficulty interpreting Stonehenge. What was it used for? But if you understand African thought, you see it's very easy to understand.
Give us a peep into it. Well, what's
right.
the connection
The first
between
thing
us and the
is,
Stonehenge?
the most conspicuous component of the henge are stones. These are long, very high stones with lintels. In other words, when we say lintel, it's connecting this pillar and that pillar right round. It's a perfect circle. But is that not the way we build our homes? Already is a starting point. What does a circle mean? To Africa, it's very simple. We know a circle means no beginning, no end. It represents eternity. So already, what else is characterized by eternity? We go to Africa, and I said to them in my writings, they are excellent in excavating and using historical methods, archaeological methods, surveys, which are not environmentally unfriendly. There's what geophysical surveys. This is where you see my science helps me to understand things culturally. So they will use those. What it then means is they will find out it's perfectly circular. There was a ditch right round. There was water in the ditch. And for them, it becomes difficult. But let me concentrate on stones so that you see that Africa will solve these things for them. For us, a circle, as I've already alluded to, no beginning to end. And at the same time, a circle means community. It's coming together. For us as a people who are a group-based people, that's us Africans. I am because we are a group-based people. Your welfare, their welfare is important to me. I am because we are together. We are. Ubuntu is about that. That's the concept. So that's one. But what does stone mean? As stone, opposed to grass, stone represents eternity. The Rock of Ages. There's a song we used to sing, Rock of Ages. The Matopo Hills, they've always been there. 14 billion years old. They're still there. So it's eternal. One thing that we know is eternal is the spirit. When I look at you, I see what we call the duality of being. You are flesh, you are material, but at the same time, you are spirit. When you die, your body remains here, ash to ash, dust to dust, they will pronounce, but the spirit goes on. So the spirit is eternal. This is why on our graves, African graves, we place stones to represent that idea of eternity. The spirit is forever. It doesn't die. So for Africa, which believes in spirituality, the one component of my body which more or less subsists last are my bones. So my spirit still remember their partner in life when the two were married. And so from time to time they visit. This is why we go to our ancestors' graves to speak to them, because they are there. It's the spirit, but the spirit goes there for the bones. At Stonehenge, it's a cemetery. So the Westerners will give emphasis to bones. Bones on their own will not mean much. But it is bones and spirituality. You have these spirit individuals. In my coming article, I'm looking at divination. I'm just about to end my articles on Stonehenge after 58 articles. I started last year. Every Sunday.
Where are these articles?
Sunday News. Sunday News. So I've been doing that. So just like I did with Great Zimbabwe. These I'm now calling them journeys. So it was journey to Great Zimbabwe, then journey to Stonehenge. 3 weeks time, I'll be beginning journey to Bulawayo. Because I realize again the information that people know, what they know is practice and not what informs practice. If you want to understand the African and how he thinks, don't get into his shoes, for he didn't have shoes. But he had a mind. It was that mind which was building. Everything starts in the mind. And then our hands are our servants. They build. A builder follows the mind. So the creative individual is the one that matters. So they created the Stonehenge in terms of its design for a purpose. There has to be a link between design and intended purpose. So when you look at it, you will see the cosmos coming to it. For some people, they will see it as a kind of astronomical detector, as it were. It will tell the movement of the sun. And ceremonies, rituals at that place are held during summer solstice. The day of maximum sunlight. Is the day of maximum potency, maximum energy. But that's what we do in Africa. So they have a lot to learn from Africa. They may not realize it. I'm sure from what I've written already, they will see. For example...
Are they getting in touch with you?
No, not yet. Perhaps when I've turned it into a book. I'll turn it into a book at the end. When the crystal ball was excavated. The crystal ball, we also use it as part of divination, using seashells.
Let me take you to a project that you're working on right now, which is the Joshua Nkomo Foundation. What's the thinking around that, and what are you currently working on as far as this big man's legacy?
What you ought to know, it takes us back to the troubled times in Zimbabwe, times of Kukuraundi. Joshua Nkomo became a threatened man, as you know. Then he bought quite a number of safe houses so that he wouldn't spend a long period at one place. One of the houses that he bought was at Machamhlope, which is sadly where you see the African failing. He still calls it Mache Umhlope. But do you wait for this? Machamhlope. But no, it's written Machamhlope. Officially, it's known as that. Who are we waiting for to change these names? But this is what happens. We talk and talk, but people will not move.
It's not a priority.
It's not a priority.
To some people.
What a shame. Anyway, that house, what happened when both of them passed on was left intact in terms of contents.
Wonderful.
The bedroom is still like that, blankets done, everything is like that. Then there were a lot of other things. The car is still there. The one that they tried to assassinate him in at Masvingo is there with the pock marks. The pock marks, yes, it's all there. And then the artifacts, his own artifacts, the fair heads, these are, it's all about Nkomo. So Mafuyana's kitchen is all there. It's maintenance of legacy, which is important. And I've said to people, what matters, like the statue, is legacy. In this book that I've just written about Joshua Nkomo, the last chapter is on legacies of Joshua Nkomo. One of them is the statue, which is about memorialization. And I've said it's important that there is a write-up on that. A statue will not speak. A statue must be made to speak. There was a man. Then man was immortalized through metal or rock. You see, rock of ages. It is a man who represented certain values. It is those values that live through the statue. But the statue must be assisted by writing. We write what Nkomo represented as a man. So again, we are capturing the heritage, liberation heritage of Zimbabwe through the men who epitomized that struggle. The icon of that struggle is Joshua Nkomo. And so we have a number of people who are working there as a board, but we are very short on resources.
Okay.
Yeah. So
is it funded by?
There's no
taxpayer funding.
No, there's no funding at all.
Should it not be?
It ought to be, but you see, this is the problem. This is the problem, and this organization that I was talking about are coming in to assist because they appreciate that.
This is sad, Pathisa.
Yeah, very sad.
That Joshua Nkomo Foundation is not funded by the state.
No, it's not. It's not. You will see.
Are you pushing for that?
We are pushing, and I think this Instac is coming in. They said they are going to do, because what is important, the way we've done it is very, it's terrible. It's not modern. They will digitize, which is very, very important. Well, we have the ideas. I have the ideas of what we could do, but we need funding for that, so that it's something. Make use. You can go in there. We are going to. My idea was that we have galleries, thematic galleries.
You know, you remind me of Martin Luther King sort of establishment that's like that. Nelson Mandela's house in Soweto, where you get in and you're taken around. It's a tourist.
That's the idea. It's kind of tourist, but at least telling our heritage, liberation heritage this time. But it will be thematic. Say ZAPU or those nationalist movements, their dresses, their attire, their songs. That's another one. You come with the leading characters, Chinamanos, Msigas.
You're also working on Ndebele village in Victoria Falls. How far is that gone?
At Victoria Falls, I provide consultancy for people who want Afrocentric design.
I see.
Because I know there was one person, I think he's still on course, putting up a center, commercial center, modern. Because people should not think things African are not modern. It is not the type of material that matters. It's the design that is African. So Peter, I've not been to the Victoria Falls airport. I've seen designs that represent our hearts. But the material used for that doesn't have to be grass, does not have to be clay, no. But the design. But just like Parliament, in one of my books, I think it's Journey to Create Zimbabwe, I have pictures of the proposed Parliament done by the Chinese. I said, what a shame. We have to wait for the Chinese to do it for us.
That's our second colonization, isn't it?
No.
Then let's, as we conclude, you working on a beautiful book on Joshua Nkomo. When can we expect that book?
Well, let me say the book is already out, because in the afternoon I'll be sending to the printer, and we take a few. I have a friend who is a printer, so by tomorrow it will be available.
That's great.
Yeah. So again, I done it. This particular one I done some few years back, but was lying because there are certain things that I would not have been comfortable writing about it. They were sensitive areas, but now we know we can write.
You are an author, you love books. Our viewers who are all over the world love books. And I asked you to share at least 3 books that have made a huge impact on you, Pathisa.
Right. The first book, yes, I thought we were going to mention that. The first book is this one by John Beatty, African Religion and Philosophy. Was an important book, beginning to understand things beyond the material, things beyond the physical. So it influenced me. It was important to understand, because when we talk about African thought, we need to know its sources, and it's mainly the cosmos and African spirituality. These are the sources of our culture. So that book. Then the second book was For the President's Eyes Only by John Broomer. I remember Squilly Moyo, when I tried to interview, say, no, Pathisa, I told you, go and read that book first. Finally, I did go to it was the National Free Library. Just asked, I wasn't sure if they would be having the book. Yes, there it was. They said, but we don't allow people to take it out. Yeah, but well, we know you are a researcher. It's way back, I think, in the late 80s. And they allowed me to take it out. I read it. Oh, yeah. Then what I was learning from this John Broomer was how politics is done, how certain world interests, economic interests, not political interests. I see politics as the lock which unlocks the box of wealth. It's all about economy. So I realized how they were dealing with certain African politicians, the nationalists, African Capricorn Africa Society, how they were moving in and tuning these people, doing the special branch. Then later the CIO. I got to understand, this is how CIA works. This is how MI5 works. So my understanding of politics is different from other people's the way. And this is why I stay clear of politics, because I see these intelligence bodies, they get involved in, they are the long arm of politicians.
That's interesting.
So I learned that.
And the third book?
The third book is not a book. So I deliberately said it would be wrong for me to bring 3 books. The third one is the oral book.
Oh, wow.
It's the book that your father was reading to you.
My grandfather.
Your grandfather that you talked about. That to me was an important book. And that book was my father. Our knowledge was orally transmitted. So if things oral are no longer that important, the material is still there. It's not the mode of transmission that matters. If today they plug certain instruments into their ears, let's feed what your father was feeding you with into these modern ones. In fact, somebody suggested to me not so long ago, he said, make sure your books are audio. In England, we are busy people, but I can plug and read your books.
Things. So are your books on audio? Do you have audio?
Not yet. So she was advising me about that one. So some people think these modern gadgets. I said to him, there is nothing wrong with a gadget.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pathisa, what an amazing conversation. Like I said, of air, we should be cloning you to make sure that there are as many Pathisas as there are African countries. Thank you so much for allowing us to have this conversation with you. Allow me, Pathisa, to tend to our viewers who are all over the world, who follow us on a weekly basis. We are out on YouTube every Monday at 7 a.m. Central African time. To ensure that you don't miss out on any of these quality conversations, such as the conversation I've had with Pathisa, please click onto this red button and subscribe. If you do subscribe, you will get an alert every time we have one of these quality conversations. We have gone a step further, created a podcast for your listening pleasure. Scroll down below this video, you'll find a podcast for your listening pleasure. We read all your comments, the positive ones, the criticism and the suggestion. Keep them coming and share as much as possible. Until next time, cheers to you all.